Hello, and welcome to the REDCap data entry training video. This training will focus on the REDCap data entry system, where you should enter all case management and supplemental service forms. Here is the layout of today's webinar. First, I will give an introduction to the REDCap system. After that, most of our time together will be spent going through a live demonstration where I will show you how to enter each of the forms and how to navigate REDCap. Feel free to contact MPHI if you have any questions after viewing this training. Let's get started. Data entry may not always be the most exciting task, but remember how important and impactful the information is that these forms capture. The information captured in these forms that you will be entering will be used to demonstrate the impact that this program has on pregnant and parenting youth in the outcome evaluation reports we create. This information is also used to make program improvements and can help you track the progress of the youth you serve. This is why it is critical to be accurate and careful as you are learning this new system and entering data. It is important to check over your forms before starting data entry. Making sure all of the questions are as complete and accurate as they can be prior to opening REDCap to enter forms will minimize error and take much less time to complete. Please check with the case manager if any questions on the forms seem ambiguous or are indistinguishable. As I mentioned previously, it is important we accurately capture the information from these forms. As always, be sure you are double-checking each question as you enter the forms into REDCap to ensure accuracy and completeness. Remember that REDCap software was originally designed to be a survey system, not a case management system. It may not be as intuitive or user-friendly as we would like. Therefore, please do not hesitate to reach out to us and keep in touch if you have any questions or concerns. However, as you may have noticed, REDCap has some benefits, such as allowing you to view records you have entered and edit or add to existing forms you have entered. You can also go back to see the history of the forms you enter. I will go over these functionalities a bit later when we walk through the demonstration. Your forms will be captured within two different REDCap projects, and they are titled MIAPPP Case Management Data Entry and MIAPPP Supplemental Service Form Data Entry. As the titles indicate, all case management forms will be entered into the project MIAPPP Case Management Data Entry. The supplemental service forms will be entered into the MIAPPP Supplemental Service Form Data Entry project. If you are new to MIAPPP and are watching this training, you should have already received an email from REDCap informing you that you have been given access to the MIAPPP projects and prompting you to create your login information. If for some reason you have not received that, please contact MPHI and we will check into that for you. Once you create your password and log in, you can begin entering data. Now I will be taking us to the REDCap data collection system. You will now be able to see what REDCap looks like and will have an idea of how to start entering data following this training. I would recommend that you have all case management and supplemental service forms on hand as I go through the REDCap demonstration so that you can see how the paper version corresponds to the instruments in REDCap. So here is what you see when you click on the REDCap web link, and I'm going to be using a test account for this demonstration. Logging in automatically takes you to this home page. Here you should see three separate projects on your project homepage: the MIAPPP Supplemental Service Form Data Entry, MIAPPP Case Management Data Entry, and MIAPPP Forms. I will go over each of these projects in this demonstration. The table on this page lists the projects that you have access to, as well as some other information about the projects. The number of records refers to the number of forms that have been entered for all clients in the project. The number of fields indicates the number of questions on all of the forms within that project. The instruments are referring to the forms within each of the projects, which are the blank, unentered forms. If you click on this Home tab, you will see the REDCap description and introduction. This page also details the features on the right-hand side of the page and also contains links to videos and training resources towards the end of the summary here. I encourage you to check out these resources prior to starting data entry if this is your first experience using REDCap. These are very helpful. The Help and FAQ tab takes you to the Help page where you can see all of the common questions answered. Note that there is also a search bar drop-down menu at the top that contains different question topics to help you find your question more quickly. The Training and Videos tab takes you to all of their training videos. They have them organized by topic and have a brief description of what the video covers, so that if you are ever unsure of how to do something, be sure to check this list of videos first. Note that many of the videos found on this tab do show information on how to create or edit projects. You will not need to know how to do this, so only focus on videos and questions that help with data entry. The Send It tab allows you to upload a file and send it through email in a secure way using passwords. This is just for your information. You do not need to worry about the Send It functionalities and should not have to use this. The Messenger tab is an instant message communicator. You should use this tab when you need to share confidential information about a client, such as client name, birth date, address, etc. with MPHI. Please do not share any privacy-sensitive information about a client over email. Only use the Messenger function or phone. The main tab that you will be used to accessing data entry forms is My Projects. Notice that you can also see your username on the right-hand side of the screen, along with the My Profile tab. This contains basic information and user preferences. You should not have to adjust any of this, but feel free to explore your preferences if you have a preferred way you like to see numbers and dates displayed. In User Preferences, you will also be able to set recovery questions. This will help you recover your password if you ever forget it. And finally, you will see the Log Out button at the top of the screen where you can exit REDCap when you are finished with data entry. When clicking on a project, you will see the Project Home and Project Setup tabs. So in this Project Setup tab, you will be able to see where edits are made to the project themselves. Although you are able to see this page, you will not be able to make any edits or changes to the project. Before diving into the forms itself, I want to briefly go over the tabs you see on the left-hand side when you enter a project. On this home page, along the left side, you will see different navigation tabs that can take you to your project home, open REDCap Messenger data collection links, different applications such as the calendar, project bookmarks for easy access to all MIAPPP projects and the Google Drive, reports, and the Help and FAQ page and video tutorials. The first table here on the Project Home tab shows all of the current users in this project. Note that this list is all of the users that have access to the project, and not everyone in this list will be able to view your client information that you enter. The project statistics show how many records or forms are in the project, and when the most recent activity was, as well as any upcoming events if you have added it to your calendar. The calendar application is pretty simple. It allows you to add certain events or reminders if you choose to do that. The Reports section contains a few reports MPHI has created to help with checking your data entry each month, as well as some reports that MIAPPP sites have created. Any report that MPHI has created will be listed at the top of the reports list and will have a number in front of it. For example, the number 1 client status. Please do not modify any MPHI created reports. If you'd like to create your own reports, first consider reaching out to MPHI to make sure the report is giving you what you want to know. There are several system errors that may impact the results of your report. However, if you do decide to create your own REDCap report, it must be named according to the following naming convention: agency name _ report name _ date. For example, starfish _ client birthdays _ 5/2019. If a report is listed and does not follow the naming convention, it will be deleted from the reports list. And lastly, the blue button that says Contact REDCap Administrator at the bottom left side of the panel will generate an email to one of our non-MIAPP staff members who oversees the REDCap functionalities here. Please do not click this button. If you have questions about REDCap, visit the help pages or contact MPHI via messenger or email and we can assist you. Now I will go over the case management data entry project and explain how to enter data. So first we'll click on the record status dashboard. Here you will see all of the forms that have been entered into the project so far. Because the project was set up for testing and demonstration, there are only a few test records that have been entered. The table shows the client name and the columns show the forms and their statuses, if they are complete or still in process. If you see this legend at the top right-hand corner, this tells you what the icon color means, and we will discuss form status further in a few minutes. To begin entering data, click on the Add Edit Records on the left-hand side of the page. From here, you can select a record that is already existing or enter a new client name in the box. For our demonstration purposes, I will enter a new client name here. You will start a new record for a client using their name. Note that if a participant has an apostrophe in their name or other characters such as a hyphen, please leave these out of the name you enter. The system has difficulty correctly recording names when these punctuations are present. So after you enter a new client name, REDCap will automatically take you to their client record homepage. To begin entering forms, simply click on the blank status icon next to an instrument or form that you need to enter. Doing this will take you to the data entry form page. We will start with the client name and ID number form. Notice that the client name pre-populates based on what we entered in the Add Edit Records page. The next question asks if the client's information was previously entered into the Lodestar data system. This is referring to the previous data system that was used before REDCap. If a client returns to case management who is active before August of 2018 and has not been put in REDCap yet, please contact MPHI to work to identify their Lodestar ID number. After you are done entering the name and ID number, you can select the status of the form: incomplete, complete, or unverified. We encourage you to mark the form complete once it has been entered, unless you and your site would like to develop an internal system using other designations. For our purposes, any data that is entered will be considered complete when we download on the 10th of each month. Again, this is up to each site to come up with a system that works for you. Noting if a form is incomplete might be helpful, especially if you begin a form and need to continue it later. Although it is recommended not to begin entering forms until all questions are complete, like I noted earlier. Alternatively, you may also wish to use the unverified option if you have a process for checking data entry at your site, or if that data entry staff member has a question about a form and uses the unverified status to remind them to come back to it later. Long story short, you are welcome to do whatever works best for your site, but for our purposes, any data that is entered will be considered complete when we download on the 10th of each month. There are also several options for saving at the bottom of the form. The first option in this drop-down menu is Save and Stay. This allows you to save all of the information you just entered but remain in this form. The next option is Save and Go to Next Form. This will take you to the next form in the project, which is the Status CM Change form. The next option is Save and Go to Next Record. This will take you back to the Add Edit Records page. And finally, we have Save and Exit Form. And clicking on this will take you back to the Client Record homepage. Notice that the Client Name and ID form does not allow you to create a new form, which is indicated by a plus sign next to the status icon. If a form does have a plus sign, you can create new forms. If it does not, like the form here, then you can only have one instance of this particular form. This is because this information should stay the same. However, if you need to change the client ID for any reason, click on the status icon next to the instrument and you can change the client ID. The only thing you cannot change is the client name. You will have to contact us and we can change it for you. So now we're going to go through a case study and enter some information into REDCap. So let's read through this case study together. Chris is a basketball player at Waverly High School and is also an expectant father. Chris comes to practice on June 14th and gets chatting with his coach, Travis, who he knows works with young fathers during the day. Chris expresses interest in joining the MIAPPP program. The two of them set up a time to meet the next week to enroll Chris into the program. The next day, Travis gets back to his office and fills out the recruitment form to track when he met Chris and how he got to know him. Note that the recruitment form is the only form that can be filled out without the client present. All other forms need to be filled out with the client. Travis begins a contact log sheet to track his interactions with Chris. When Chris and Travis meet the next week, Chris signs the consent form and they go over the enrollment form together. After Chris leaves the meeting, Travis looks at the MIAPPP client data collection and entries process map and sees that he needs to log into REDCap to enter the following instruments: recruitment form, client name and ID, enrollment form, and status case manager change form. So let's go into REDCap and enter in those forms. So the case study mentioned that he first needed to fill out the recruitment form for Chris. So we know that we need to go to the Add Edit Records page and enter in a new client. So the very first form we fill out with a new client is the client name and ID. Next, the case study mentions that we need to fill out a recruitment form. Next, the case study mentioned to fill out an enrollment form. After filling in the rest of the questions, make sure you mark the form as complete and save your form. And finally, the case study mentioned to fill out the status case manager change form. Next, at their next case management meeting 50 days later, Travis and Chris sit down to fill out the CBA and aux packet. Once Chris leaves, Travis logs into REDCap and enters data into the CBA and follow-up form, as well as the aux packet instruments. He also enters his contact with Chris into the contact log. So we'll go and enter those forms into REDCap. So we need to fill out a CBA. And once all of these questions are complete, I will skip over them here for this demonstration, marking the form as complete and saving an exit form. And next, we need to fill out an aux packet. And the case study also noted that he filled out the contact log with each contact he had with Chris. So we'll start the contact log, and we'll just fill out one entry. Going back to the case study, 2 months later, Chris receives his GED. At their next case management meeting, Chris and Travis fill out the education change form together. Following their meeting, Travis logs into REDCap to enter data into the education update instrument and the contact log instrument. So we'll enter in this last piece of information into REDCap. So we'll fill out an education update form. And it also noted that he filled out a contact log at this time. So now that we have entered in a brand new client, I'd like to make a note about data access group. Just so you all are aware, all case managers and coordinators will be able to access client information solely from within their own site. Case managers and coordinators will not be able to view or edit client information from other sites. Also, Hillary and Chris will have access to view all client information from all of the sites, but will not be able to add or make changes. So now that we entered in a new client, let's go through how to add multiple forms to an existing client. So if you would like to add multiple forms to an existing client, first go back to the record status dashboard. Next to the client name who you will be entering the form for, simply click on the little plus icon next to the status icon. So we'll add another CBA and follow-up form for Chris. So we will click on this little plus icon to bring up a brand new form. So once we enter in all of this information, we will make sure to save our changes and mark the form as complete. So on this record status dashboard, you can see that if there are multiple enrollment forms, CBA and follow-up forms, aux packets, education updates, pregnancy updates, contact logs, or termination forms entered, you will see the repeating instruments table at the bottom of the screen. This table can be particularly helpful to view client information and quickly assess how long the client has been receiving services, and can also alert you if there are any missing forms. So for an example, let's go into our Hillary client, and here are the repeating instruments tables that I just mentioned. Here you can see that she has a CBA, a 6-month, a 12-month, and a 24-month follow-up. And we can quickly notice that she is missing the 18-month follow-up. So now I'm going to go over a few functions, and we'll go into our test client, John. So first, I will point out the history button, and it's next to every single field or question that you see within all forms. And the History button is this little H icon. This allows you to view past entries that you have made to any field in any of the forms in REDCap. So if you click on this little H next to any field, it will bring up a table of the date and time information was entered, who entered the information, and what was entered. So here you can see that 3 entries have been entered, and it's helpful because you can see that the contact information has updated. So it's helpful if you ever need to go back and see past entries that you've made. The little comment bubble below the History button allows you to create a comment on a particular field. You don't have to enter comments, but in some cases it might be helpful. This is where you can utilize the field comments log. This allows you to see all of the comments made in any field across all projects. This function has several uses that may be helpful to you. For example, the data entry staff can create comments on questions that they are unsure of or need further clarification on. And the field comment log can remind them to ask the case manager for assistance. So now I'll take us back to our project's home page, and we will go over the final 2 projects. So within the supplemental service form project, there are 3 different forms: demographics, contact information, and supplemental service form. The demographic information is entered separately into its own form, so you only need to complete this information once, rather than with every supplemental service form you enter. The contact information is for your use only. Please note that you should not fill out a supplemental service form for any client that is enrolled in case management. Data entry for this project is the same as the case management project, and I will not go into any additional details. If you have questions on this project, please contact MPHI. The final project is called the MIAPPP forms. This project was created as a place where you can access the MIAPPP forms. You can download all forms directly from this project. So in the record status dashboard, you can click on the status icon next to the forms instrument. This will take you to the file links. To download, simply click on the link of the form that you need. This will be convenient in case you ever misplace the new version of the forms. Before we close this training, I'd like to introduce a tool that will help you check over all the data you have entered into REDCap. The REDCap file review document is a worksheet for supervisors to fill out based on the REDCap data using the report functionality to ensure everything is accurate. If you have any questions about REDCap file review, please contact Hillary or Chris. That wraps up the REDCap training. Learning a new system and getting used to a new way of entering data can be challenging, but once you complete it a few times, it will become second nature. Feel free to call or email MPHI with any and all questions. Thank you for viewing this training.